Hi, everybody. This is Lee, and I'm talking about the growth of the concept of political independence in North America. There's a recent Gallup poll. I'll post a link in the description, and in it, you'll see that they've been tracking trends of party affiliation going back to 2004. So, over 10 years worth of political affiliation trends tracked by Gallup. And in their latest poll, which has been published, they asked people as of January 4th through January 8th of this year, 2017, do you consider yourself a Republican, a Democrat, or an independent? And the responses may surprise some people, but then to some people, it comes as no surprise. As of January 4th through 8th, 28% of people who were polled considered themselves Republican. 25% of people who were polled considered themselves Democrat. And then 44% of people who were polled considered themselves independent. And so we see that the results of the Demexit are pretty severe, pretty significant. There was a trend away from the Democratic Party. Maybe 2% of those polled went to the Republican Party, but the majority of the people who demexited from the Democratic Party went to independent status. And it does say independent, it doesn't list out the third parties. And so probably under that independent umbrella, there are third party people who consider themselves members of third parties. And they fall under the independent umbrella, but the majority of the population does not consider themselves either Republican or Democrat, part of the what is considered major parties in North America. And I say, look no further than Hillary Clinton, that the Democratic Party is dying, and that she is the one who has killed it. Look no further than her. But then there's been an overall trend towards independence. Maybe you can look at the drop-offs that occurred over the years. But there was a severe drop-off this past year during 2016 of people moving away from the Democratic Party. And anecdotally, I can say that many people chose to demexit immediately following the California primary of 2016, where the indications of corruption and collusion and malfeasance just became so apparent that people started trickling out of the party. And then as more revelations came about of actual proof of the corruption that had been denied and derided and mocked earlier, that it had been proven that members of the party elite of the Democratic Party had actually attacked the voters and suppressed voters and disenfranchised voters. And so, more demexiting. There was a movement away from the Democratic Party, what is considered a celebration of Emancipation Day, which is June 19th. Many African Americans chose to change their party affiliation to either independent or something else other than Democratic. And then there was another movement, significant, symbolic of Independence Day, where even more people demexited from the Democratic Party. And then July 12th, there were more people who demexited from the Democratic Party, and that was immediately following Bernie Sanders' endorsement of Hillary Clinton. That sent more people away. And then, of course, following the events, the gruesome events of the Democratic National Convention, more demexiting. These are, you can see the statistics going back of when they kept polling and see the drop-offs as they happen. And so, again, there were more people demexiting even after the Democratic National Convention. People were finishing their voting for the down ballot Democratic candidates. And then immediately following, individual states that finished their voting down ballot, even more demexiting. Probably Some of the latest races were like Florida, and that was in August, and so another drop off. And then as the general election loomed and became worse and worse, there were some who were browbeaten back into supporting the Democratic Party. But then after the November 11th, people just said, you know what, forget it. I give up. And there was another drop off. And so here we are in January, and the Democratic Party is 25% of respondents. And so this is what has happened. There's a rising tide of independence. That independents are gaining more power, and this is borne out in the fact that many states already have open primaries, and between those open primaries and the caucuses, Bernie Sanders himself, an independent wearing the cloak of a Democrat, was able to almost come. Well, I say almost, but I think many people have accepted that he was truly the winner of the Democratic primary. And so between the open primaries that already existed during, the spring of 2016 and the caucuses, Bernie Sanders was able to gather sufficient support to where he broke even and likely surpassed Hillary Clinton in delegates. After Bernie Sanders ended his campaign, more states decided to open their primaries to independents due to public outcry, and that's what they wanted. And so Colorado and Minnesota opened their primaries to independents. And then Hawaii is considering opening up its primaries to independents. And so is New Mexico. And so the trend is towards more open primaries than closed primaries. And then between those and the caucuses, the trend is towards strengthening the power of independent voters. And so for people saying that, well, we have a two-party system and, stay a Democrat so you can vote in the primary, that's also losing steam because, again, primaries are trending to open. So there's no need for a voter to feel like they should be subjugated towards obeying orders from a minor party that people are leaving. They're losing support. So the party elite is losing power. And so rather than voters taking orders from the party elite to stay a Democrat so you can vote in the Democratic primary, really, the voters of those states with closed primaries are the ones who should be giving the orders like, well, you know what? You better open up your primary if you expect any support from independent voters. See how you reverse it and flip it right back on them? And so, no, you should not feel obligated to remain a Democrat in order to vote in the Democratic primary. What you should do as a voter is give orders to the Democratic elite saying, you know what, you need to open up these primaries, and then try your best to persuade independents to vote for your candidate or the candidate of their choice. And so this is how you return power back to the people and take it away from the party elite trying to give you orders. The independents, we are the majority, not the Democratic elite. They are the minority. They're dying and they know it. And so, look at it that way and it becomes a little bit more clear. And I think it's terrific that there's a growing awareness that the stranglehold that the two-party system has placed on the citizens of North America has been very harmful, very, very harmful. And Bernie Sanders, his campaign was monumental in opening up everyone's eyes who were suffering in silence and were in the midst of despair about the state of the economy, the state of the job situation, the military defense budget, the environment, the future, healthcare, things like that. He actually released everyone to speak up and speak out about these issues. And so whoever responds to these issues, that's who will receive the votes. And if you want independents voting for you, you have to respond to the independents, because independents are approximately 44% of the population. You cannot win any race without them. Good luck.